Yerushalmi base. I don't know exactly how far behind it, but we must be catching up. But we haven't fallen. So that's this. We haven't. What? There's an international Daf Yomi in Talmud Yerushalmi. Didn't you know that? We're the only English-speaking shiur in Daf Yomi Yerushalmi in the world.
I say we switch languages.
But there is. There are many shiurim in Hebrew and Yiddish around the world. Many is a relative term. Probably around 10. So in any event,
gotta believe it. Gerish Stiebel Yerushalayim got oodles of it.
Outside of Eretz Yisrael, there are only 5. 2 in Brooklyn and 2 in Antwerp.
The one in Brooklyn is not really a Daf Yomi.
No. The English one is not. There are 2 Yiddish ones.
Oh.
The 2 Yiddish ones.
We're special.
We're special, that's right. It's Eretz Yisrael, there are probably a few more, you know. Okay. About a year, yeah. You figure it's 1 volume and change. Okay. It's less than a year. 11 months to 10 months. Leis Kanei Choshish. We're up to Yerushalmi Bays 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines from the top. Leis Kanei Choshish. Now, I really should tell you what we're going on the Mishnah. The Mishnah said you don't have to be afraid that maybe if you get loan money to a Kohen or a Levi or a poor person in order to separate based on that Trumas Meisers or Meiser Oni, so you're going to be afraid that they might die. But that's Leiskan Ein Choshish. You don't write that there's no chashash at all, but you are afraid Shalo Yashira Ani, that perhaps the rich guy became the poor guy became wealthy. That you do have to be afraid, because poor people have a tendency sometimes to become wealthy. So therefore you have to be afraid that perhaps the fellow who you assume was, never can tell, who was an Ani yesterday, might be wealthy tomorrow, right? What? Yeah, it's a chazaka to be an Ani, that's true, but it's a chazaka so yilishtanos. Obviously you can change. It's not inherent in the person that he's an Ani, as to his property. It's a different type of chazaka. There's no chetzkas haguf. It's a very good question you're asking, really. There's no chetzkas haguf, no chazaka on his person that he's nani. Just description of the property, his relationship to property. So that's not the same thing as a classic chazaka, I think. That's a good question, though. Okay? So in any event, Vatani came also like this. Amalve Almos Ani Vehashir. If somebody loaned money to a poor person and he became rich, you may no longer consider that to be money upon which to defray Meiser Ani, which you take. Yeah, you want him to have the migo that he can be mafkros and nechasim. But who says you would? That's when it's to his advantage to be mafkros and nechasim. Here it's not to his advantage. Because the Ani has the money anyway. He has the money on loan regardless. So if it's not to his advantage to be mafkir nechasim, so there's an advantage to be mafkir nechasim, so I could say migo that he could be mafkir his property. But here it's not to his advantage, as you will see present in a moment. So v'chenema, the time came with also like this. Amalva Moses Ani v'ashir. If he gets rich, emarfi shalem. You can't set the tithe meiser Ani on that basis. Shem marfi shalom. You can't tithe on the basis of that which is lost. And here it's as if it's lost, because here the guy is already rich. He's no longer poor anymore, right? Rabbi Chia bar Ukva Shem Rabbi Yotzi b'Shem Rabbi Chia said, "B'Yorshe Kuhuna v'Leviyahi Mas Nisa." Furthermore, it said in our mission says that if you loan money to a Kohen and the Kohen died, you continue to set aside the Truma on the basis of his kids who are Kohanim. Saying the Levi, Meiser for Levi, you can defray the cost of the Meiser on his kids. However, by Yorshi Ani Ein La Ani Nachla, by heirs of an Ani, the kid, his children, people can't inherit poverty. Poverty is not an inherent condition. Kahuna is an inherited condition. Levia is an inherited condition. Poverty is not inherited. Well, at least we hope that poverty is not inherited. Okay? So says the Gemara, baloney. Although it's not, this Gemara is not halachic. It's not a halachic retort, but a Gadic retort. Tani Bar Kaparakar said, Ein l'chadam she'ena bali de midazu. It's not really baloney. It doesn't directly contradict the previous point. It's just making a commentary. As though he doesn't eventually hit this attribute of anius. In other words, even if you are extremely wealthy, either your kids or your grandchildren will be aniyim. Is that a positive thought? If he's not poor, beno, his kid will be poor. Im lo beno, if his kid is not poor, ben beno, his grandchild will be poor. Sooner or later, poverty will strike at any family. That's what it says here. Okay, getting back to the tracks here. Adamara.
This is straight swans.
What?
It's straight swans.
Well, it could strike anywhere at random, poverty. You never can tell.
I think this is unusual. Bar Kapara, I think it's wrong. He's made unusual statements.
He makes very unusual statements?
Yes. He is the one, I believe, who talks about doubling the years to 160. Or some guy lived 160. I think it was Bar Kapara. Double check. There's some other things that Bar Kapara, he just makes unusual statements. Was he the one who said there was no Sheni Latuma by...
yeah, he says no Vlada Tuma Deraisa. Yeah. He's also one who says Peter Maktoris, Achas Shishim Mashim Shanaisa Bashal Shirayim Chatzoin, I think. So is that time about Paro Merachas? Yeah, it was interesting film with new interesting trivia. Your name, that's an interesting point you're making. I have to pay more attention to that. So it says the Gemara, now the fact that if he's rich, that's over. You know, it's over with. You can't use this individual to defray your ma'aser sheni. Means the transactions are not permanent. In other words, whenever you make a transaction, you extend a loan to a guy and you say, "Listen, you're my oni. For now, any ma'aser oni which I take off, I assume that it's if you acquired it, and I defray a portion of your loan, and then I get to keep the ma'aser oni." So I mean, obviously, since if the guy becomes rich, the deal is canceled. So I want to cancel the deal is canceled, right? Now, the guy who we talked about is the borrower. The borrower can cancel. He can return the money and say, "Forget it, no more deals. I want to go get I want your ma'aser instead." Hamalva ma'ush can the lender who say, "Give me back my money. I decide you're not my man anymore. You're not my oni anymore. So therefore, I'm not going to defray my ma'aser oni against the loan to you. I'll find another guy to do it." That's the question. Can he? The Shemina min adol, it's not from here. Hamava Moses oni, it says if you loan money to a poor guy, Hashem became rich. Aim afishin aleim. You can't. Did I go back? Yes. No, I didn't go back. Yeah, I didn't go back. Sorry. Yeah, fine. You don't separate that which is lost, and here it's his poverty got lost. He became Nebuch rich. However, here it says V'zacha ani b'mashi yesh biyado. Whatever loan he has outstanding, he acquired. In other words, let's say the loan was for 10 years, and the guy says, "Forget it." Now he became rich, so he can say, "Yes, it's true. You originally gave me a loan to defray your ma'aser ani, and now you no longer can because I'm rich and I'm not poor anymore, right? However, you gave me a loan for 10 years. A deal's a deal. You'll be seeing the money another 5 years from now. Sayonara, right?" So he gets to keep the money and doesn't have to give it back immediately. Okay? So it says, a deal's a deal. The deal was a contingent. A deal's a deal. It's exactly the point.
But part of the deal was that...
You can't make that a Tanai. You can't, because you don't have the koyach to force a Kohen or a Levi into such a thing, because it's not something which he can sell to you. It's a favor he's doing for you. You're doing him a favor in return, but it's really a favor. That's all concept, Makire Kahuna. It's all favors.
I'm talking about the army.
Same thing. He's doing you a favor. So, this not favors. Right. By allowing you to loan the money. Okay? So in Amen, so says the Gemara, again, this teaches us the lender can't renege. Ask the Gemara, later the pliga of the Rav. Now, doesn't this whole discussion our Mishnah argue on Rav? The Mishnah says that if the Kohen or Levi died, you go to the heirs, right? And you the heirs take over. So that seems to argue on Rav, because the Rav said Yoresh Kimeshubat. An interesting concept. The Rav does not hold the concept of Shibud D'Oraisa. Shibud D'Oraisa means whenever there's property around, the Shibud transfers from from the individual to his property, and of course from his property to the individual as well, though that's not necessary. What it means is that all his property is under lien. And therefore if somebody dies under lien, it's meshubad. Under lien means meshubad. So therefore if the guy dies, so the shibud would devolve, if you hold the shibud d'oraisa on the property leaves over after him. So shibud lav d'oraisa, so it means that there's no lien on properties. It's not meshubad, so therefore the yoresh is not mechuyev to pay up. Right? So it says the Gemara, the Rav Amar yoresh k'meshubad. A yoresh is like meshubad, like a person who bought property from this individual, just like a borrower who borrowed money, even with witnesses, but no shtar. It's not it's not collected from property which is sold to other individuals. So it can't be collected from the heirs. Yet here we see that the loan which he dealt, with which he dealt with the Kohen or Levi, transfers over to the next generation. How can it transfer over? There's no shibud d'oraisa. What's transmitting the loan? There's no personal shibud on the Yisayimim because they didn't contract the loan. And if there's no shibud nechasim, so there's no shibud nechasim either. There's no shibud at all. So what is there? What transfers the loan to the next generation? So says the Gemara, Pasallah, he'll have to explain, there are Mishnah we talk about Milva B'shtar, where the loan is made via a document. And even Rav also, where there's Milva B'shtar, the shibud, the lien, transfers to the next generation. Okay? Says the Gemara, and there's a caveat in that. Rav Osher Ben Yochanan said, Milva be'edim. No, I'm sorry. Rabbi Yochanan argues. He argues. Says not true. He says Milva be'edim. If the loan was given on the basis of witnesses, even though it's verbal, nigveis min yorshim. It is collected from the heirs. Only yorshim shiur, as long as they inherited real estate, because as the he owed shibudas d'oraisa, and therefore the lien attaches itself to the land, which passes from generation to generation, and therefore the lien, because the yorshim of the Kohen or the Levi, they get the debt of the milva which existed. It goes to the next generation, and therefore you can continue to defray trumas and maisus against that sum. All right, uvad yorshim sheshakar, as long as they inherited land. Now here's the Gemara, a fascinating Gemara. It's really. I'm not sure exactly what the kadah here. Kadah sounds like it's a continuation, but it really isn't. It's a separate case. Elaine the Rav Nechemia is the people around the I guess the students around Nechemia. Ashlun Tzibura Pitin, they loaned money to the community chest, and they were taking up Maiserani on the assumption that their community, in the community, they're aniyim, and that they'll defray the cost of Maiserani on the funds which they gave to the community chest. Now, it's not a keren for aniyim. It's not specifically a fund for aniyim, but it's a community chest. Now, says the Gemara, so the Shai came from the rabbi, so they have to assume that maybe the community becomes rich. That's one amazing answer. Emily says, by the way, none of this as far as in the Bavli. They said, late tzibur kule asar, late tzibur kule miani. You never have an entire community which is rich or an entire community which is poor. Meaning, even if some of the guys became rich, other guys will become poor in their stead. It's a cyclical thing, and therefore there are always poor people in the community who are the ones who are defraying your Meiser Oni from allowing you to defray your Meiser Oni from the community chest. Okay? Says the Allah Mishnah for Allah Ches. Hamidiach Peros. Somebody leaves fruit. Lios Mabi Shalem Trumas Meiser, and that fruit is designated, separated upon in Trumas Meiser, while you eat other fruits of the same type. Or most, or money, lios marvi shalem meiser sheni, to separate corresponding to that meiser sheni. Marvi shalem chetzkoyom, you can tithe on the basis that assuming that they are accidents. Im avdu, only if they get lost, then what do? Right? If you come and they found that they're lost. Harei zechoshish meishleis, you have to be afraid that they became bad within the past 24 hours. Divrei Rabbi Lezer. Okay? Then we're going to discuss what exactly he meant by that and who argues. Rabbi Yehuda Omer b'shlosha prakim bokim, saying 3 times a year check the wine to make sure it didn't turn to vinegar. B'kadim shemotzai achag, in the first, the motzai, the first day of For Motzei Sukkos, when there's a west wind, or whatever wind that is, east wind, I think it is actually. Ubatzos Madar, when the first buds appear in the tree, and when the first fruits are getting moisture inside. Okay? Now, says Rabbi Lezer ben Atius b'shem Rabbi Lezer ben Yanai says, Rabbi Lezer is saying that, Rabbi Lezer in our Mishnah is saying that when we find the wine is to the vinegar, or let's not take wine to the vinegar, that's going to be an example later on. When you find in the chves, your nectarines have gone bad, so only assume they went bad within the last 24 hours, right? So, Amar Rabbi Yochanan said, no, it's not the Pshat in our Mishnah. It's, let's say you checked last Sunday, and then you checked again next Sunday. And last Sunday the nectarines were still good, and this Sunday the nectarines are already rotten. So according to Rabbi Lezer, you only look at the last 24 hours and assume they're rotten for the last 24 hours, but the prior 6 days, they were considered to be okay. According to Rabbi Yochanan, it's the exact opposite. You assume the first 24 hours was okay, the last 6 days was not okay. Okay, there's a parallel machlokas in the Bavli about this one as well, but I forget exactly where it is. But Tinan, and he brings the proof that you can only assume the first day was good because we have this classic case appears many times in Shas. At least I remember it as being many times in Shas. Maybe it isn't. The Tinan that we learned over there, mikvah and nimdad, a mikvah which is measured. If a nimtza chaser, it's found to be lacking. So what's the halach over there? Find a mikvah that has less than 40 saw. Anybody remember?
Hours only done within the last 24 hours are not considered good?
No, that would be a right to Rabbi Lezer. In fact, it's a right to Rabbi Yochanan. All taras since the beginning are considered not good. So it's even more common than Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan gives you 24 hours at the beginning. But here, since the mikvah is chaser, we say from the last time you knew was kosher, anything done after that is considered to be not kosher anymore. Not considered to be Torah.
Is there a parallel about women losing her psulim when if she has the cheskas of tahar?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's exactly the same parameters. You're asking good. I'm not sure exactly the same parameters.
We had that in the Bavli recently. I don't know. A woman having the chesaka of having a psulim the last possible moment.
Yeah, but that's where there's no. See, that's where there's no. The problem is the difference over there is that there's no chaser vasoi. It's a one-time event where you lose your psulim, so you push it to the last possible moment. But here, the mikvah gradually loses over time, so you have to push it back to the earliest possible time. And the same thing with the wine or the fruit which went bad. You have to push it back in time because it's a gradual process, and the process could have begun much earlier. So an event could be pushed forward. When she lost the psulim, that could happen in the last possible moment. But a process has to be pushed backwards in time to when the process perhaps began.
But the mikvah is kosher until that one drop that makes it less than 40 saw.
That's true, but it was a process of getting there. Yeah. We don't know how quick the process was. We don't know how quick in the process it got there. So that's why it's that's why I think it's that's the chiluk. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's the chiluk.
If you don't know if something was done before or after, you assume it was done after because it had to be done. So
that's what he asked. But that we only say that when it's in a one-time event, not when it's something which happened over time.
So it has a we should wait until the last possible time we know it to be kosher because
last possible time we know it to be kosher.
Before it becomes possible.
For it to be kosher, you should think that the time it became kosher was the last possible
right.
Time.
Right, but that's what we're saying. We don't say that here. That's what I just explained, because it's a process. It's something which just happens over time, but that's not a one-time thing. It doesn't happen like that. If wine goes bad, it goes bad over time. Fruit becomes rotten. Same thing. Mikvah gets loose. Mama just saying, gotta listen when other people ask questions. It's a trait of school kids not to listen when other people ask questions. So I notice that all kids, every time I teach kids, they never listen to what anybody else says. Adults, part of the time they do at least. But of course, the kids don't. I don't want to put you on the spot. But you understand? The mikveh, it's getting less and less and less. Because there's a leak. So you have no way of knowing when the leak occurred. You can't say leak occurred at the last possible moment because it's been leaking the whole time. By definition.
Our point is...
What do you mean? It does? I know what your point is. You're both at the same point. I understand, but that's a reyes on the chazaka. Once you have the process which you know began earlier, that damages the chazaka. You can no longer use the chazaka at that point. Right. Okay? So in any event, as opposed to by the woman who was raped, so maybe she was raped just 5 minutes ago. Because there's no damage, no inherent damage in the chazaka. Because there's no process which took effect on her earlier. Okay? You know what it'd be tantamount to if you know the woman was fooling around with somebody. So then he wouldn't say that it happened at the last possible moment. I'd say she's been flirting with this guy for several weeks already, maybe it happened earlier. That would be a possible similar situation. Even though the Gemara never says that, I'm making that up. But maybe that would be similar. Okay? So in any event, so says the Gemara, Chinana Brei Ravasi Bar Mema L'Shem Rabbi Lezer said, Zuloti Mitiv Rabbi Lezer. This is not, our mission is not like Rabbi Lezer. The Tziyam we learned, Im Avdu Areza Choshesh Meitz Leis. Divrei Rabbi Lezer. It says that, our mission says that it's only the last 24 hours, and by a mikveh you see, you push it back in time. So our mission and Rabbi Lezer do not go together. They simply do not match. Now, Talmud we learned over there, this is a famous case, brought down the Bavli as well. The case, you buy wine from among the Kutim. The Kutim don't take off Meiser Sheni from their wine, so you have to take off Meiser Sheni. So it's an Erev Shabbos, you didn't have time, so what you do is you drink, and you leave over enough for Motzoi Shabbos, then you say, L'mafreya, that that's the Breira, right? That's also the Breira. It isn't Gittin, right? The Suya Breira isn't Gittin, right?
Yeah, it's a Gittin. It's a common.
Yeah, a couple places, but it isn't Gittin. What? That retroactively it should be clarified that this is the Meiser Sheni. Okay, so says the Gemara, Tani Rabbi Yosef, Shimon Oisim, they forbid you to do this. Shemati Bakaha Nod. Because maybe the bottle's going to break, and all that wine you rely on to be the Meiser Sheni, it will turn out that it wasn't Meiser Sheni, and you drank Tevel retroactively. Now, this is a cool question and answer. Avada Masnisa, our Mishnah L'chora is not like Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Shimon, because our Mishnah gives you either gives you at least the first 24 hours, according to Rabbi Yochanan, or gives you at least gives you up to the last 24 hours. But regardless, it gives you time. We allow you to have at least 24 hours in which you can rely on the fruit being intact, on the wine being intact. Why are we not afraid that your bottle's going to burst? Why do we give the guy even 24 hours? So it says a more fascinating answer. Now, says more Rabbi Zir says, Tamal Mafreya Niskalgla. There gets ruined retroactively. But here, Mikan ve'elach Nikalklu. Here it gets ruined from here on in. Now, the way the Gilin Ephraim explains that, he explains like the Bavli. The Bavli says, L'shema meis loch Aishinim, we had this yesterday. You're not afraid somebody died, but you're afraid somebody will die. Right? Because there's no chazak on the future. So therefore here, Erev Shabbos, you start drinking, you have to be afraid that within the next 24 hours the bottle's going to burst, right? In our mission, it's about ex post facto. You already took off the truma, right? So he says it's you already took off the truma, so therefore you assume that it was good at least 24 hours. But there it's talking pre-facto, pre-anti-facto. So therefore, since it's before you took off the truma, before you took off the Meiser Sheni, we say, Adoni, wait a minute, don't take anything off. You have to be afraid that maybe the bottle will break. So one is after the fact, one is before the fact. That's what the Ephraim explains it based on the Bavli. But the Yerushalmi, the Mashbiach has a much nicer and more lomdiship shot. Mashbiach was the Telzer, so we're a little bit partial towards his lumdus, even though he doesn't seem to reveal normally Telzer lumdus, but he was a Telzer. Anyway, from the real Telz. So the Mashbiach says that the reason why by our case over here you can rely each 24 hours, as opposed to the case of there you can't rely for even 24 hours, is because here, even if the fruit goes bad, I'm sorry, well, let me start over there. Over there, if the bottle breaks, then nothing you did was ever good. Nothing at all, right? Because the broken bottle means there was no wine. So therefore, the suffix over there breaks the chazaka, because the suffix that it might break is so powerful that if you say that suffix, the whole chazaka is out the window. If you give credence to that suffix, but here, you definitely do at some point in time, you could take off meiser. At least for several seconds, several hours after you check the fruit, it definitely didn't go bad, right? Going to probably at least 24 hours, but let's say it's even a couple hours. So therefore, the chazaka is not completely undermined by the suffix. So therefore, once you say the chazaka is not completely undermined by the suffix, so then already the chazaka can be extended further. It might even be able to extend it, according to what opinion Rabbi Eliezer, until 24 hours ago. But it certainly can be extended beyond the starting point. So by Yibakano, since the Yibakano will break down from the starting point on, so therefore there's never a place for the chazaka to establish itself. But by the case of the fruit, since there was definitely a starting point, since you checked at one point, so the fruit was good, so then from there on in, you have a chazaka, and that chazaka can be extended further from there, perhaps even as far as to within the last 24 hours. It was a nice part, okay? You don't like it so much, huh? Okay, I thought it was nice. Interesting. Okay. Different. All right. Says for further. So again, I was there. My friend there, the way the Mashbiach explained it, from the get-go would have been ruined. But here, from whatever time it began the process, that's when it became ruined. But until that time, it was actually good. Until it was chazak established.
I was just thinking the whole scenario here is 24 hours, and then my focus is whether the first 24 hours or the last 24 hours. Here you only have 24 hours.
That's a nice look, but I don't know why it doesn't give it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cute. A for creativity. Yerushalmi Gittin. Now, wine, which just came out of the wine press, okay? Got is a press, right? You assume it's wine out of Borim Yom for next 40 days. Okay? So you don't have to assume that what? No, for 40 days you assume that today it's still wine. It's not for the future.
For the next 40 days or
for the 40 days past. In other words, each day you're assuming that today it's still wine. You're not to, by Shabbos, on Erev Shabbos, you're starting to drink, relying on Motzei Shabbos, something's going to be there. Here, as you take each Trumas of Meisos off, you're relying on the wines there right now. It's a present-based transaction, not a future-based transaction. Okay? So that's why you can rely on the chazaka. Now, that's Tanakam. Rabbi says you can rely on it until the next changing of the season, which on our Mishnah is defined as after Sukkot, when the buds start on the tree and when the water starts coming into the grapes. So you can rely on it until till the next of whichever 3 points comes next. Ashkechas Omer Kulu Chumra Rabbi Yehuda. So comes a Kulu Chumra Koid Rabbi Yehuda, Kulu Chumra Rabbanan, Kulu Chumra Koid Rabbanan. Kulu Rabbi Yehuda, Kulu Koid Rabbi Yehuda. Shein Bar Perek. If the perek comes before Velobo Arboim Yom, before 40 days. So in that case, Rabbanan are more meko on Rabbi Yehuda. The chumrah, and there's a chumrah on the contrary, shimbar ba'yov loba perek. If it's 40 days past, but the perek has not yet come, and you can't take off truma, which is a changing of the season. But they're not fall, spring, summer, but the seasons of the grape year. which are Amotzai Yosukis, and when the buds appear and when the grapes already form, both are because they already they look like grapes and they have moisture in them. Okay, so those are the three prakim. So the Chumrah, there's a Chumrah Shimbo Arboim Yom, 40 days come below Ba Perak, then there's no Tnai at the Perak, ain't no term going Rabbanon, you can't take Truma already. And Kula the Rabbanon, vice versa, Kula and the Rabbanon, Shibor Arboim Yom below Ba Perak, ain't no Torah, if to quarter Rabbanon, if 40 days and the Perak come, and the Perak is not, you can't take Truma. But Chumrah, there's a Chumrah Shimbo Perak below Ba Arboim Yom, the Perak came, and there was 40 days not passed, ain't no Torah, you don't take Truma. Rabbi Sion, Rabbi Simon asked, based on this machlokas, it sounds like Rabbanan say 40 days is absolute. Is that true? The 40th day came for low barak, and he didn't check to see if it turned to vinegar. And he said, he was lazy for 2 or 3 days. And then 2 or 3 days, day 42, 43, he came with chometz. He found it's vinegar. It become vinegar from day 40, or just from the yarnin. Now, of course, the Gemara is very difficult. I mean, obviously, you have to be chayshish. It's been vinegar since day 40, right? Because day 40 was the outer limit. So, what the Mashbiach explains. Mashbiach says that it's definitely not vadai truma. But the question if it's vadai not truma, or only a suffix not truma. Right? Vadai not truma, vadai truma can't be, because the lamais, it's after day 40, maybe it went bad immediately. But a suffix truma might be, or it might be a vadai not truma. Right? That's going to be the issue. And that's what Mara says. What's the case? Or return he took the truma after day 43, despite the fact that you should not eat him. After now, so I'm going to say it was definitely vinegar from the time of day 40. And truma is a truma. The truma is not valid. It was definitely bad truma of vinegar and wine, which doesn't work. Eat him a kind of lab, and let's say no, it's only a suffix if it occurs at that time or not. So truma is a truma, but the evidence okay because it had a chazaka. What's the chazaka that on day 40 was still, for day 39 it was still okay. How you were supposed to check day 40 when negligent and did not, but the chazaka is not lost, and therefore the chazaka carries over. Right? So, Bedek Abayis, but, I'm sorry, I made the same mistake when I was praying. Bedek Chavis, if you checked a jug, Leos Mapisholet to separate Shumanet, and same idea for wine, right? When Baum is the lay, a few days later you came with all chometz, he finds vinegar. Rabbi Shimon Levi says, Shlosh Yom Rishonim. The first 2 days after you last checked it, Vada Yain, we assume it's definitely wine. For Achroyim, the last 3 days before you just checked it, chometz, you assume it's definitely vinegar. And so in the middle days, those are the stuff we're not sure. Rabbi said, Yerushalmi Levi, I heard from Rabbi Yerushalmi Levi, Rabbi Yochanan lo markei, and Rabbi Yochanan did not agree with him. I heard this from Yerushalmi Levi, the top thing, the first 3 days are definitely wine, the last 3 days are definitely vinegar, in the middle is a suffix, and Rabbi Yochanan did not say this, he said rather, he said, Shlosh Rishon, in the first 3 days, Vadayayin. It's definitely wine. Suffix, but we're never certain if it became vinegar or not. We simply do not know if it ever became vinegar. I mean, until the last possible moment, but not in the last 72 hours, right? We don't go 72 hours back and say 72 hours ago it was ready vinegar. According to the first time, Rabbi Shimon, and say that that the last 3 days is definitely vinegar. According to Rabbi Yochanan, we don't say the last 3 days is definitely vinegar. That's what it says here. Okay, so it says more Mao Polik. Does he argue? No, it says more suffix. Rabbi Yochanan is really not arguing. It's a suffix. Maram Rabbi Yochanan b'shemotzu chometz doha. Rabbi Yochanan said even last few days of Safek is where he found that it was not strong. You found that it's weak vinegar. So maybe it just became vinegar a couple of moments ago. It's only weak vinegar. How do you know it happened 3 days ago? Madam Rabbi Shimon Levi, Rabbi Shimon Levi said it was definitely vinegar 3 days ago, but when you find that it is clearly vinegar, it's not just weak, it's very strong vinegar. But
No, that it was. No, there was nothing about that. That was before. We assumed when we had inflation.
right. But if you find strong vinegar, then it's not just chashash. You assume for sure that it was vinegar made for the last 3 days. You're living in a halachic world where nothing is real. But here we're talking about reality. Vinegar takes time to become vinegar. Yeah, it does. Okay? I had once, I don't know why this brings this to mind, but I had once a friend in Shalvim. He was younger than I am, but he once went to one of the Rabbeim there, Rebbeus who grew up in Eitz Chaim, one of my Rabbeim. He asked him, Harav, he's going back to America, he says, Ha'im mutar le'achol steak. Okay? So, the Rebbe says, Chavivi, Tagidi, ma ze steak? I had no clue what a steak was. So, Israeli, what does he know what a steak is? So in any event, we don't know, what is vinegar? We don't even know, right? We think vinegar is good because it's made by the Heinz in a chemical lab, right? Who knows that it comes from actual grain or wine, whatever it is. So in any event, so says the Gemara, it's actually fascinating. The guy say which is not in the Bavli, at least it's brought down in the Mishnayos, of course. It's a Mishnah Taris, but it's not in the Bavli itself. We have machlokas over here, there it's like this machlokas over here. We learned over there. Machachim says chaluda. Of Anita, which you found rusted, or shvur, or broken Torah, it's Torah because it's no longer as a keli, right? So it can be makabel tuma. Tani, now we learned tinicha shifa. You left it smooth. Uvar mitzah chaluda, and you came and found it rusty. Rabbi Simon Shimon Levi says, he said before, Shlosha in the first 3 days after you left it vade to May, it was definitely tummy, because we assumed that it was rust free. Shlosha achroinim, in the last 3 days, doesn't say 3. The last 3 days we say it's tahira because we assume it was already definitely rusted by then. And so in the middle days it's Safi, they're questionable. Amri Avod, Rishon Levi, Yerushalmi Levi, Rabbi Yochanan, Lo Amar Kei did not say this. Elo Shloshim Rishonim, rather they said the first 3 days Barei Tameah. It's because it's still considered to be a keli. From there on in, it's a Safi, we don't know what the halacha is. Okay? Rabbi Ilan, Rabbi Lesser. Rabbi Ilan, Rabbi Abba. Rabbi Lesser, Shem Rabbi Kol Rabbanan, the name of all the rabbis told the Beis Medrash, used to go to the Beis Medrash, said, B'yayin v'machal och Rabbi Shimon Levi, that we don't know what's going on. In other words, we know the first 2 days is definitely okay, but we don't know anything subsequent to that. Rabbi Crispa asked the following question, which is a very cryptic question at first glance. Kol shana v'shana, but do you check wine every year, or achaz v'shoshanim, or once every 3 years? Single malt scotches, how often do they check them? So they check them at all, or they just close them up? I mean, they all taste like vinegar anyway, so I don't know that there's any... any chiluk, but... What? Okay. So, vinegar is an exaggeration, like bad medicine. Okay.
Tastes like rubbing.
Yeah, sure it is. So, I don't know, I've never zoichet to drink rubbing alcohol, so I can't compare. I've never drank real vinegar, no.
How do you know that it's...
I don't. Why? In any event, so he said, do you check every day or check once a year? Once every 3 years. Check every year, do you check once every 3 years? Let's learn out from here. He sells wine to his friend. Now here it says Stam, but the Gilin Ephraim says Ben Shona. He says it's a year old. He changes Stam to Ben Shona. So he's liable for, responsible for it till after Sukkot. So
Why does he have to change?
what?
Wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, because otherwise, why do you, well, I'm not sure. It might make sense anyway. It might. I'm not sure. So in any event, so he has to check. He's chayav after Sukkot to check it. So it seems you have to check it every year, right? Because he has to check it that year. I'm sorry. It seems you don't have to check it every year because Chag, we understand somehow Sukkot is more than a year away. I don't know exactly how we know that, but that's what we understand. So, what? Yeah, but the grapevine year. I don't understand exactly how it works, but somehow we know that that's more than a year away. So we're not necessarily. May take it that the Galileans, the Ian Katfin, they harvest Besarkan Mesa the Chaga before, after the first days or after all the days of Sukkot. So Leishmaim Noklum. So we don't know that you don't have to check every year because here this is within the first year. So before we wanted to say that Sukkot is after the first year. Now we know it's before the first year. Now, yeah. Vaida Amrada. How do we know that there's? How do we know that there's a havmina that you should only have to check every 3 years, not every year? So it says Amar from here. Yosha Mishel Shtakad. Yosha means the ones from last year. That's the FDA claim of Yoshan means it's from last year. Yushan means Shlosh from 3 years ago. Okay, so that was the Amina that since it's from 3 years, Neymar. Let's say that since 3 years makes it very old, Mishum Adam Matamusa, because of its taste, you don't have to check it during those 3 years. You only check it after the 3 years are up. So it says now from this price, so Hadam year. But anyway, you have to check, and therefore for this we do say you have to check each and every year. You can't leave it for more than a year. Okay, and Adam will also teach us the misyashin chai b'achisu shtei shonim. That if it's if you use an FDA claim on misyashin, that would mean it would have to be 2 years old. Because Yoshan is 1 year old. Noshan is 3 years old. So what would misyashin be? On the way to become Yoshan, that would be 2. Okay? So it says the Gemara, Hadar teaches us the misyashin also, or any other one for that matter, you have to continue checking until after Sukkot to make sure that the wine you're selling, the wine you sold, is good wine. Now, Adamras teach us b'chol shar v'shana bodik. You have to teach it every year. Kates to the bodik. How do you change it to check it each and every year? So bodik chavis achas, you check one jug. And we assume that all the rest have the same status as the jug. So that's more, why is that? Because kolachos v'achos u'bodik v'enim achmitzos, you think if you check this every one, they're not going to turn to vinegar. In other words, the fact that you're checking them in itself hastens the potential process of vinegar. So if you don't check every one, you only check one per batch. So that's more, not necessarily. What? Yeah, because the air ferments it. I think that's what makes it. Doesn't the air ferment what? Some organisms get it. Okay? Hussein Rashi Shalom Rav Simi. You know what? These Noshi are people. Makshal Gami Labai, they could just hit the barrel on the outside. They know what's inside it. So that's the best thing, to check every barrel with that kind of check. They're experts. They know from the reverberation of the barrel. They didn't strike it with something. Okay? You ever had a drum set? You know how they work? They're very different pitches depending on the size of the drum, right? So they're going to be different pitches depending on whether the wine inside is wine or vinegar. Yeah, but the volume has changed. The nature of the thing inside has a different... Not the density, that's what I meant to say. The density changed. Molecules per square millimeter. Okay. Says Mer. Says the Mishnah. Hashliach get listo. Change your baits again. You send to get your wife, you give a shliach, and you call up to the shliach. Or you send a shliach to catch the shliach. Farmer said, get shliach bottle. The get I gave is null and void. Harei bottle, it's null and void. Kodem etz listo. What have you got first? Your wife. Or shliach etz lo shliach. Or it's a message. Formerly he said to her, get your shlachti loch bottle. The get I said it's null and void. Harei a bottle. It's invalidated. She get the other. Obviously, once the get reaches her hands, ain't a yochel, you can no longer validate the get. So it says Gemara. You know what? I'm not going to read this Gemara the way Gemara reads here because it makes very little sense. Although Pnei Moshe does seem to make some sense out of it, but I'm going to read the way the Shai Torah learns it. And there's another Gersa also in the Mashbiach, which you changed it as well. I can learn like Mashbiach, but I'm going to learn like Shai Torah Eretz Yisrael. Hadam Pliga, this seems to argue al, not Rabbi Yochanan, but on Reish Lakish. The Reish Lakish Amar, changing Gersa to Shai Torah Eretz Yisrael, Ein Odom Mevato Shlichus with Dvarim. Mishnah said you can't cancel your Shlichus with words. But here we say you cancel your Shlichus with words. He goes, he says, Shliach, you're no longer my Shliach. Or he says another Shliach to tell the Shliach, you're no longer my Shliach. Why doesn't he have to amass it to cancel his original designation? Why is it enough for him to just send the Shliach? Or to verbally obliterate his original designation? Rabbi Yochanan holds, Asi Dibur Mevatel Dibur. One speech can come and cancel another speech. Reish Lakish goes, Lo say the Dibur Mevatel Dibur. So how you learn Gemara Kohen Reish Lakish? So says the Gemara, plus our law to explain Shum Chaymer Barayas, because the Chumar Barayas were machmir, and we assume that perhaps she's not properly divorced, and that's why she has to get divorced over again. Excuse me. Normally Dibur is not Mevatel Dibur, but when we're dealing with Arayas, we're more machmir, and we give it the credibility of being Mevatel Dibur. Also shliach lo lichas aget. The made a shliach take the get. Certainly no before time. You have to give it in front of two. Vein shliach ola mishum shnayim, and the shliach does not count as two. There's a story about a guy who made a shliach take a get from Chutz Eretz Yisrael. So he has to make the master have two witnesses witness him giving the get to the shliach. And the shliach doesn't count as part of that too. What about however you send the shliach to cancel the get? In that case, the shliach who's counting has to be avatal for the two people, but the shliach counts as one of those two. Okay, because it's not really in that case about a litigant, right? In the first case where the shliach is taking the get, so he becomes the longer arm of the litigant. But here, where he's being sent to be mevatel the get, it's not necessarily considered to be part and parcel of the litigant. So therefore, he can even be part of two people who testified to the cancellation. Okay, so again, in the Reisha, where you're sending a get, so the shlichus has to be appointed in front of two witnesses. Where being mevatel a get, all you have to do is send the shliach to say in front of one witness, he'll become the other witness. Okay, so it says the certain individual went to find to be Batel's get. But he found the shliach was supposed to take the get, but he found him in a highway. And they said, Ahukita diavis? It should be lach. The get I gave to you, where is it? So he said, Yavili lo, I gave it already. It should be holichi, halachti, or I yavis, I gave it to her. Hey, but he already gave her the get. So what's done is done. Says more Mimi Shtoi, as they were talking, should be Sarah. No problem, the get slipped out of the shliach's pocket. Hey, you liar! You said you gave the get, but you didn't give the get. Here it is in your pocket, right? So it says, the Muhammad said, Lo amatali Avili, did you say you gave it to her? Amalei said, yeah, Avili, I gave it to her. For Amatli, she happened to have said to me, Yeli biyadach, you keep it for me and preserve it for me. So he claims he did give it, and now he has it back for safekeeping, right?
But isn't there a semen that they were supposed to tear the bottom or something?
No, we do that. They didn't do that. That's not it. No.
There was no semen that she received it and gave it back.
Only if she collected the ksuva would they do that. So maybe he didn't collect the ksuva. So it says, Marama, Meyachashish biyad Gari. Oh, so since Yeshish Gari, since he became the Baal Dover on the Gerushin, so for whatever brief time he's in charge, so does he have credibility? Or once the get was given to his hands, or once since he finds his hands, Enu Neman is not believed because he's a no Gerba over. Yeah. Okay, so that's the question. Whether we leave the shliach who designates us to do something else, who says, do we believe him because he could have divorced her? Or they say that once it's in his hands right now, that's a reisa, and therefore we don't believe him. So we don't answer this question. The question is not become answered. But we don't know. There's no answer given here to tomorrow. Now, it's a very strange question. What if the shliach he said to be Mavato got sick himself? Can he appoint another shliach and say, is like Gittin or like Kiddushin? You're going to make like Gittin, why not? Anybody can take a divorce. If you do like Kiddushin, not anybody can make a marriage. So therefore, basically what we're saying is, if you make the shlichus like get, so then once he gets sick, he can't give it over to anybody else. If you make no, he can't give it over to somebody else. He can give it over to somebody else. If he says like Kiddushin, he can't give it over to somebody else. When again, because by Gittin, you just send it on Baal Korcho. It's all part of the same Baal Korcho. But by Kiddushin, you need to have reshus, and therefore acquiescence by the woman. So therefore, she could say, under these circumstances, she's not going to acquiesce.
What happens if the shliach he gave it to the shliach is occurred in the first
It would be no good. Yeah, funny, you can't say funny nachta, you believe. It's not go correctly. The three brothers?
The second shliach, the first shliach.
Right?
The second shliach is occurred to the first shliach.
I don't know. I don't think it would work. Maybe it would. I don't know. Maybe it would, sir. Yeah. Yeah, why could you give shliach? Well, if I might make you a shliach, why could you give it to Chreis, to your relative, to be a shliach on your stead? If you get sick, pashtas, it would. But why not?
Because maybe he's like the guy.
Yeah. I don't think so.
Then we can't.
No, you can't both be the Adim, right?
Yeah.
You can need to get a sense of more Adim to see that you designate the shlichus. Yeah. Well, maybe. Okay, I'll look at base. Now, originally, what people do is make a base in a certain place, wherever they were. And cancel the get, and the woman would or would not find out. The elder made a takara. They wouldn't do it in a tikkun oil. What is we'll see in the Gemara. You used to put down all possible permutations of his name, her name, the city's name, or the city's name and her city's name. Gamliel Zogan said that we wouldn't getting all the names, so therefore he just wrote, he just agreed to your Kaitsev that she write each place, so it's over Chol Shem Sheyesh, so any name is got besides the name we know to us. It's just Pony, the so-and-so wife of Chol Shem Sheyesh Lo. The name she's got, B'nei Tikkun Olam, because rectification will work. Says more later, the Plea Reish Lakish, this does not argue Reish Lakish if you have to go to base the and Reish Lakish said, so he said you can't cancel, like we said before, going to Shai so you can't cancel your shlios with other words. So why should the they be able here to force why should be able to cancel shlichus, right? It's aim dvarim mevatel dvarim. So there's more apostle by basin shekolcham meruba. He's using mevatel in basin. Basin, you have a lot more power. Basin basically has power to flog, so it's as if he has all sorts of powers to not to flog the shliach, but to cancel the shliach. You can't do what? Tanakam holds you can. Tanakam holds you can. Okay? So it says the Gemara, I mean you shouldn't, but you can have a word, you did it works. What's Tikkun Olam? I mean, say the name it shouldn't come to a Rackman issue. Right? Rackman. It's an individual who is involved with Mamzeris. It's okay, you're enough to know. Just delete that from the record. So in any event, strike that. So in any event, the Gemara says that the reason why he canceled, if he canceled get, we say is cancellation of avoid because one reason is because there's Rishosh Lo Tavodim. There shouldn't be Mamzer issues. She shouldn't sit as an Aguna. What are these perspectives? She shouldn't sit unmarried. It's a woman swore Shabita who's afraid her husband canceled again. Vulobi tell her husband he really did it, and she really is Mekureshes. And yet she tragically will not remarry because she's afraid that he was about to get, which works. Violechas. Swirsh lo bita vu bita. Violechas when he says below get. And,
Can't she assume that?
right, one second. Swirsh bita vu lo bita. Venim to Shabbos Aguna, so it comes out she's sitting to it as an Aguna. That's good. No? Okay, yes. Unreleased woman. She has no husband living with her, but she can't go get remarried anywhere.
Can't she assume that it was not productive?
What?
It wasn't productive? Again?
Not in the old days, because you can invite to anyone, just make a basement. I mean, she could, yes, but obviously there were now enough women who were concerned that...
She should be able to...
Yes, she should. She should have a chazaka.
What you gave the getter,
You gave it to shliach, though. No, you gave it to... Yes, but you gave it to shliach. Maybe you cancel it still in the hands of the shliach. That's the whole point.
She never... Until she gets it, it's not like...
But until she gets it, that's when it can be canceled. It can't be canceled once she gets it. Okay? So, he was afraid that it's because she thinks that it's not canceled. And she did cancel it. And he says she's going to get it, go get remarried. Below get without a get. Her kids will become mamzer. Okay, so both possibilities exist here. So let's actually skip and come back, because that's what the Mashbiach says to do. Yeah, Amrabi, so skip the lines on the bottom. Amrabi says, Sidashar went down to the caravans. Yerushalmi Rabbi Yaakov Bar Achon. I heard Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Yami, Shem Mishlot say Shlotov the Mamzeris afraid it's going to be a Mamzeris issue. Ravuna said, if you come on the marshal, Loto Teu Shevis Aguna. If there's an Aguna problem involved here, he's never going to get proper divorce. Eastley, Shlotov the Mamzeris, he also has a problem of Mamzeris, so that's a real problem which one has to address. Turning back to Amidal from where I skipped before, what's the case of Aguna for a woman who's normally afraid of Mamzeris? Svur Shabitel, about 5 lines up before we just started. Svur Shabitel, if she thinks that he canceled, Vulobitel, he didn't cancel. Ubalacha Bekitcha, somebody else comes and marries her, Tovsi Ba Kiddushin. So in that case, Kiddushin works upon her, because she thinks he canceled and he really didn't cancel. So therefore, nobody knows the Kiddushin works. V'yisvura, in this case, is going to be a case where she thinks Shalotov Siba Kiddushin. She thinks she's an Aguna, and therefore Kiddushin doesn't work. But she's really not an Aguna, because he tried to, because he canceled again, right? What? Sure, she needs das. V'yisvura Shalotov Svur should be tel, Vulo be tel. He didn't cancel. And then in that case, somebody else goes Mikasha, types in Ba Kiddushin. The Kiddushin works against her. V'yisvur Shalot Tovsi Ba Kiddushin. She thinks on the other end that Kiddushin does not work, right? Because she thinks that the halacha is that well, she thinks Kiddushin doesn't want to work. Right, because she thinks that he canceled the get. She thinks the get, yeah, because she thinks that he canceled the get. She waits till this guy dies. And then she goes and marries somebody else. And therefore her kids become Mamzerim. So again, if she has the case of Aguna is a case where he sent her a get, right? Then he canceled the get, or we don't know if he canceled get or not, right? And then she won't get remarried because she's not sure if the get is valid or not. If she does get remarried, she'll make sure if she does get remarried by accident, then she won't assume it's a valid marriage. She'll just wait for her first husband, she was afraid canceled to get to die. Then she'll go and marry a third guy, but in reality she's married to the second guy. Is that clear at all?
Why would
she was married to the first guy. The first guy then was Mevato the get, unbeknownst to her, right? Or actually, we don't know if it's Mevato the get or not.
Once she's with the third, the second guy, how can she go and
do it again? Start it.
She was married to guy number one. Guy number one sent her a get, right? Right? So she thinks that he canceled the get. But he really didn't cancel the get. Now guy number two comes and marries her. She thinks she's not married to him. Why? Right? Because she thinks he canceled the get. But in reality, he didn't cancel the get. So guy number two is actually married to her.
So why does she go ahead?
So she's an aguna for the first one, and the second one's going to cause a problem on Mamzeris, because then the first one will die, and she won't be an aguna anymore for the first one. But now she thinks she's also an aguna for the second one, because the second one was Makash at a time when she thought she was still married to the first one. But the first one really was Mevatel the cat before she accepted marriage from the second one. So now if she marries the third one, then her kids to the third guy are going to be Mamzerim. So we have this guy, the three guys, he have both the problem of Aguna, because she thinks the first guy didn't divorce her, and therefore she's sitting as an Aguna, and also have a problem of Mamzeris. Because the time she gets to the third guy, it's going to be Mamzeris for sure.
If she thinks she's an Aguna, why does she marry the second guy?
She did it. The second guy came, it was Makati Shur. That's what it says, Taipsin Bakidushin, Ba'akar Bakidushin. And Achlami, she didn't repudiate it, but she didn't repudiate it properly. Okay, but she didn't express it properly at the time. She just said afterwards she's not changed her mind or something like that. Okay? So So as it says, "V'yelezi says v'nim says boneh bonim ve'mamzeres," and the kids will come and they mamzeres. Okay, we did the next part. Let's skip now to the base. Over a bitlo, top line. What if he transgressed and was mevatel the get? The shmina minado. Let's learn from here. In bitlo, it was a vatel get, a reason mevuto, it is cancelled. Divrei Rebbe. In other words, only the chatchila shina mevatel, but if he did, it is a bitlo. Rishigam Meir, any yochel battle he can't cancel. Get below Sivaton, he can't add in any precondition he originally made. You also Rishigam Leil saying, good, my time at the Rebbe. What's Rebbe's for? Says more Dvar Torah Ushayivatel. Rebbe's for is the right, so can he be a vatal again? Yes. Vein which will be to how come he can't be a vatal? According to the Rabbara. V'divrei Mokim Divrei Torah. Can their words uproot the words of the Torah? And the answer to that is, of course, yes, they can. But Rebbe held they can't. But we can hold they can. That's a Rishon Gamliel, right? So therefore, that's a Divrei Mokim Divrei Torah. The Chizesim al Shemen. I'll give you another example. To take trumas from oil from olives on oil, or v'ad novim al yain, wine on grapes on wine. Lo Torah Shitam does not work with the Raisa. Ve'enem shelo yitom nei gezel shevet. And they said they shouldn't do it because they're thieving. Never, and also more, do they not say, Elishamru, they said, Avar v'Torah, if you did, ain't Truma, so Truma. So therefore we see here that their words can cancel Divrei Torah. So there's something missing here, because first we were saying, my time of the Rebbe, now we're saying that we're giving the Sfor against Rebbe. What was that?
I was going to add, another example is Shemen Nesef. The Rabbanim with
we're grazer on it. You're martyr.
Yeah, martyr. Because it used to be Shemen's Nesef as well as Yain Nesef.
Shemen Stam, right.
Okay.
Right. Shemen without attribution. Shemen Nesef is definitely also. Once it's used for Morizor, it's also. But anyway, so v'chizayim shel shemen v'anomim shel al yain lo Torah shitram zomur shelo yitram negazol shevet v'lo now that el shomer they said avor v'torah v'toram ain't trumas of truma. If he did so, truma is not truma. So the same thing here with our Mishnah. That's Rishon Gamliel is supposed to Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yeshe bar Abba Amar Yehuda Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya said to Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya Taka Bagada the Sabach in the story which is your old man related Mandaikla, who can explain it? Meaning that Taka, why don't we say Koch Basin is Yofeh, and therefore Basin can nullify the marriages? Which is principle, although I don't think it's a Bavli of Afkin Rabban and Kiddushimei, the rabbis annul the marriages in those instances. They don't know why Rabbi Nasi did not hold it that. So the Maisa comes out that there is an opinion that you can cancel a get by sending it that if you cancel it, try to send the get by shliach and then cancel shliach, that the get is valid nonetheless, right? It's a valid get no matter what the situation is. What?
It causes mass confusion.
Yeah, but that way, see no, that will eliminate confusion, because that way, even if you tried to cancel it, as long as you didn't cancel it, get in front of the shliach, we'll always assume that the divorce went through. Okay, that's what Rabbi Goren wanted to when he was matir the mamzerim. He said, use this Gemara as an additional potential reason to be mekel. Send the shliach to give her a get, the woman who's adulterer, and be mevatel the shliach along the way. She's not in basin. So they say, and her marriage retroactively was null and void, and therefore all the kids are safe. Right now, I'm saying. Okay, it doesn't work. Because Lamaisa we don't pass. It's not clear we pass Rishon Gamliel, but that would be Rishon Gamliel's spar. Okay, we'll stop here for this evening.